Good morning. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start our program for the day, and we are looking forward to a very exciting day. We had a great start yesterday, and we are hoping to continue having great conversations. We are going to continue empowering ourselves, empowering the listeners, those watching at home, because what we're going to discuss here is really exciting. The first panel that we are having today is on copyright. The topic is using your copyright as collateral, the do's and don'ts versus copyright law. So we have a panel of experts here who are going to be discussing this topic. We are going to be hearing from them. We are going to be hearing their views. We are going to be hearing tidbits from them about how we navigate the issues of copyright. So on the panel today, I have Mr. Batusi Lesolobe. He's a copyright and IP expert. He's a researcher and a founder of Palm Consult. Mr. Lesolobe, can you please walk up the stage and give him a round of applause? We also have Karabo Muchuane, music publisher and head of A&R Sheer Music Publishing. Please welcome Karabo on stage. We have also Mandla Maseko, a label owner, a researcher, an artist manager, a lecturer and chairman of the Association of Independent Record Companies of Southern Africa. You are most welcome, Ramaseko. And then last but not least, we have a woman on the panel. Yesterday, we fared badly when it came to gender representation. So today we are fortunate to have Mayor Onarabanteng, a PR specialist, an entrepreneur, a content and film producer. Welcome on board, Mayor. So this is how we are going to start the panel discussion. I'm going to ask our panelists to. Can we have some water on? Oh, the mic. Oh, the mic. All right. Thank you. But you have water. All right. Well, so I'm going to ask our panelists. Today our panel discussion is an hour. So we need to make clear points and use the little time that we have so that we finish within the schedule. And I'm going to ask, starting with Ramaseko, to the panelists to briefly introduce themselves. I know I've said a bit about them, but I'm going to ask them to briefly introduce themselves. 30 seconds each. Yes, Ramaseko.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invite. To my fellow panelists, the audience, the organizers and government of Botswana for hosting us. As indicated, my name is Mandla Maseko. I'm the current chairperson of the Association of Independent Record Companies of South Africa. But I also a lecturer at the University of Tshwane, University of Technology. And I think the topic of today, to me, is a subject matter in class, because it's paramount that our people are taught the importance of copyright and understand how to use their IP to liberate themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ramaseko. Ramachuane. They will assist you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invite. We really appreciate the time and this moment to share the knowledge. My name is Karabo Mutijwani. I'm now a head A&R at Share Publishing, a company that started over 23 years now, doing the same as an independent music publishing company, a company that actually have close to 70% of most South African or African songwriters that include your Liras, your Questa, your Casper, your Zaharas, your Robbie Malingas, your Squatter Camp, you know, Tasso, who did the WHP stuff. So the catalog is huge, including, you know, international that we represent, your downtown studios in the US. So yeah, basically what I'm going to be sharing with you guys is the publishing world. You know, you as a intellectual, how you then protect intellectual property from now going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rale Solobe.
Hello? Hey. Hello, Harris. Kiviria Batisile Solobe, Managing Director, Palm Consult. What we do at Palm Consult is we specialize in intellectual property training. We also do IP advisory services. We help clients in protecting their intellectual property. We have in the past helped governments of Liberia, Swaziland, and even Botswana in developing national intellectual property policies, as well as other strategies. And we are currently involved in developing a human resource plan for the creative industries for the HRDC, Human Resource Development Council of Botswana. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Marabanting.
Okay, thank you very much. As introduced, Kibidua on Rabanting. Strictly, I'm a television producer and director, but from 23 years of experience in broadcast and having dealt with other people's creative works in radio and on television, I have come to a position where I label myself as a creative activist, because this is the space that I am finding myself more useful to be able to engage from government, from politics, to the practitioner themselves. I am currently with Baboni Film Productions, and in business, I am a content entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Rabanting. Ladies and gentlemen, the direction that this discussion was to take was to be heavily influenced by the fact that we were expecting to have SIDA on board, but my understanding is they did not respond to the invitation. As you know, SIDA has recently introduced new guidelines, and they have said that creatives, artists could use their copyright as collateral when applying for funding. As you know, SIDA is an institution that provides funding. But I don't think it's only SIDA that is that is doing that is using the copyright of creatives as collateral. So I assume that other lending institutions, other banks, also have that in place. You could use your copyright as collateral. So I want our panel to talk to this issue and to generally share the advice with creatives, with musicians on using copyright as collateral. How do you go about it? And what does the law say? That is what we are interested in. And we want to know exactly what is intellectual property. that should be explained to the creatives, to the artists, so that they have proper understanding of this. Because my understanding is that for a long time, people have not benefited from their intellectual property. They have been exploited. They've seen their works being used for profit somewhere while they are not benefiting from that. So I want our panel to address themselves to these issues and to other issues that they think may be relevant to this discussion. So I'm going to start with you, Ramaseko. Can you give a view on this?
No, thank you very much, Program Director. I think, firstly, it will be important for us as we gather here to deal with the issues around terminology first. Because it's common that we are all called artists. And when it comes to issues of rights, it is important to know at what level, when does your rights start, when the other's rights continues. Firstly, you will know that we've got a performer, a composer, and a producer. In the copyright laws of South Africa, you will know that you've got the right in composition, and the right in composition speaks to the works of those who create the music. And when we're talking about composers, we're talking about everybody involved in the creation of the song. But it is the same copyright law that then extends that yes, you can create a song, but that does not necessarily mean you want to turn it into a sound recording. Therefore, it then provides that we then can have the right in sound recording. That is now the recorded works. And that talks to the businessmen and women who are involved in the business of producing records. So now, the performer comes later in this description. So it is very important that when we talk about artists, we are able to zoom in first into the terminology, and so that a person, they understand themselves. It is painful to always see a lead singer saying, I'm ripped off of my rights, but when you then analyze, you realize they don't have any form of ownership because they were never part of the composition, neither they are the producers of the work. When it comes to this topic in particular, I think that my approach will be to talk to it from a producer's perspective, because we represent the independents. That is now the employers in the space. If you are an artist and you are a performing artist, you compose your music, the minute you start creating a business, which is now what we call an independent record company, the definition of a producer from a copyright perspective is of the investor in the business. Now, there are different rights that producers will have. Their rights are not the same as those of the performer and those of the composer. So for us, it was very interesting to know what these guidelines mean, really. Because you cannot just take IP and make it from a homogeneous perspective. Allow me to conclude and say, it will be very interesting to also for us to begin to deal with the issue of the rights and the royalty regime. Because if I take a loan, I really need to say to SIDA or any institution, I cannot give you all the rights. I can give you the rights only on my audiovisual of the song to repay the loan, not the entire, from the public performance rights to natal time rights to audiovisual rights to mechanical rights. So we needed to understand at what level, what is it that will be accepted, but it is important that our people don't take themselves in exchange of a loan and wholesale their IP to anybody, including SIDA.
Thank you very much for that, Ramaseko. It's very intriguing. And I hope that the audience is noting down questions, because it is very important that we have a discussion on this. We're going to have a question and answer session where you are expected to ask questions and to get clarity and to make comment. Karabo.
You know, it's I think the languages that we use, and I always say the creatives really are not mostly scholars. Not that because they are not intelligent. They are creatives. They want to create. Now, the language that normally we use a lot of times confuses them completely, right? The simplicity of this thing is that you need to understand there's a record label side, the recording side. What does the recording side have? They have an artist and they have a producer. They have to pay artist royalty that you agreed on. They have to pay the producer's royalty, right? In a term that we normally use, we know in the hip hop, in the young now, when they say producer, they're talking about the composer. They're talking about the beat maker, right? But the producer normally was used historically by a record label as the idea man. So they're saying we want a hip hop album, you know, with the upbeat tempo. He's the guy that actually will organize the guy who plays the guitar, he'll organize the studio, but the record company will pay for it. He will actually make sure that album is done and finished. So he's the producer of that album. He gets the producer royalty from the record label, right? Executive producer is the person that pays the money, he pays everybody else so that he can own the master recording of the sound recording, right? We're talking about a record company side. We're talking about someone, the record label that signed the artist and actually signed the producer to produce the album for the artist. Then we're talking about the intellectual property here. We're talking about now the person who actually composed the music, who wrote the lyrics, who then signs to a music publishing company. You understand the two differences? In most cases, an artist can also be a songwriter. You find a lot of guys today, they produce the album, they become the producer, they own the master, they can record it from their own studio, but also they composed the music. So, producer, artist, record label, right? Songwriter is composer, author of the words. Those who say composer, they assign the intellectual property to a publisher, you know what I mean? So that the publisher can actually make sure that you're registered with societies, collecting societies. What is the benefit? So as a songwriter, right, there is what you call performance royalty, which is what you get from anybody that's actually doing business, something that you can hear with your ear. It could be a restaurant, it could be radio, it could be TV. Anybody else that pay music or using music for any type of business, they then have to pay the person who composed the music. In South Africa, we have SAMRO. We then have what you call mechanical royalty, which is part of the people who wrote the music. Mechanical royalty is any copy of a copy that you're making. You know, it can be physically you're making a CD of another CD, you pay what you call mechanical royalty. In South Africa, we do 6.67% of the retail selling price. You know what I mean? It can be in digital platform where you downloading a song from iTunes, you know what I mean? You actually have to pay mechanical because you're making a copy of a copy. You know what I mean? Of that. That's mechanical royalty. You pay that in South Africa to Kapasu. Then the reason why you're signing with a publisher, you actually can register with Collecting Society yourself, but the reason you're doing that is because for the opportunities of placement of music into film or advert. So we call that synchronization license. You're syncing music to a picture so that you can actually have a benefit of that. So they license, they borrow a song, you know, based on how long they want it, 3 months, you know, where they want to use it, TV, radio. So anything they're adding, that means the more the money they have to pay. What territory they want? Is South Africa only, Botswana only? The more you're adding, the more we're charging you for it. But we're borrowing it a song to use it for the specific, you know what I mean? So that, you know, I can benefit for it as a songwriter, right? So intellectual property for me and for everybody else that I really think that it's one thing that you need to take it seriously. We're living in where the music have no borders, right? When I'm saying that, I basically mean that we live in a digital era. In a digital era, metadata is very, very important, right? When I'm saying metadata is that you can't just always take a song, and give it to everybody else without making sure the song have a title, the song have who composed it, who did the music, lyrics, you know what I mean? The song have who is the owner of the master recording. The song have IRC code. IRC code is like identity. It's wherever the song get moved around in digital era, it can actually identify it as who's the owner of the song. So metadata is very important these days. So you cannot allow a song go out without being able to put all that information in metadata so that you can benefit as a rights holder of the song.
Thank you so much, Karabo, for enlightening us. Rale Solobi, your take on the issue. Perhaps also giving much more the local situation, you know.
Yes,
Yes.
I think where I need to start, they did their job very well. But where I need to start is to contextualize it and put it from our side in Botswana. The law that we have. So intellectual property is divided into two. There's industrial property and there's copyright. Industrial property would include protection for inventions, which is patents, protection for brands, trademarks, protection for trade secrets, and all those. And those need to be registered, except for trade secret. Because if you register trade secret, it doesn't become secret anymore. But on the other side, copyright, the moment our law, Copyright and Inherent Rights Act of 2006, and it should be our duty to know this law. As musicians, as artists, we must know this law. It is our own Bible. The Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act of 2006 says there are 13 things that can be protected through copyright. 13. One of those is music. Now, let's understand something about intellectual property. It rewards your creativity. It rewards what you created from the mind. Now, copyright gives you two types of rights: the economic rights and the moral rights. Let's deal with the moral rights, because today we are going to deal with economic rights. The moral rights, first, they are never transferred. They are never transferred. If they are waived, as in the case of film synchronization, then you have to write a contract, an agreement. Just you are waiving those simply for that film. We are talking about things like the right of paternity. Everyone should know that this work was created by you, or it belongs to you. There's a reason why every book that you read has the name of the author on it. And that's because of paternity issues. But on the other hand, there's an issue of the right to protect against distortion of your work. Say, for instance, you borrow someone your rights to do a film, and they distort it. The law gives you the right to stop that person from doing that. So those are the moral rights. Let's go to the economic rights. There are several economic rights. They've spoken about some of them. The right to communicate the work that you have done to the public. The right to adapt your work. The right to translate this work. There are several of them. Now, what these rights gives you are the ability to exclude everyone from exploiting them. And when we say exploiting them, exploiting is not simply an ordinary word. It's a technical term in terms of copyright. When we say you exploit these works, we mean that you are using them. Somebody, One here is a composer. She doesn't know how to sing, or she's not interested in singing. She can give that song to Karabo and say, you can perform that. So we are borrowing these rights to Karabo. We are not giving them to Karabo. So what we are going to talk about today is based on the economic rights. This is what we should understand. But from the beginning as well, we should understand how the financial institutions have been working, particularly in our side of the world, Africa. Even from all over the world. What happened was, when you go to a bank, the bank will say, we need security. And the first thing that we'll think about will be our physical assets. Will be a car, will be a house, will be our cattle, all those. But now times have changed. Even in Botswana, we are speaking about a knowledge economy, where we are saying ideas are your best assets nowadays. So what SEDA is doing now is saying, we now want to recognize the intangible assets. Those other assets are tangible, but they are fine. We now want the intangible assets. Why are they now talking about intangible assets? This is what we should ask. And there's a simple reason to that. The tangible assets have a limited period that is shorter. But the intangible assets, they take longer. Take, for instance, your trademark. Coca-Cola was trademarked a long time ago in the 1880s. But every 10 years, they have to renew it. A patent in a phone, for instance, your cell phone, your standard cell phone has around 2,000 patents, which are protected. But after 20, they take 25 years. But for copyright, it takes even more, because it says you are protected until your death. But even after your death, your children or whoever will be taking over your estate will continue to enjoy the fruits of your labor in Botswana for 50 years. In other countries, big economies, they have gone up to 90 years in the UK, about 90 years or 70 years in the United States of America. And this is where we also want to go. So I think I just wanted to make that this is where we are starting. That lending institutions now are beginning to understand. In South Africa, it's been done for a number of years now. In Kenya, they're also doing it. So Botswana is in the right direction. But here is now the challenge. We do not have a law now that recognizes IP as can be used as collateral. This is where the challenge is. And this is where government should now, after working with SEDA, can now say, okay, these are the modalities of how we are going to deal with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very enlightening talk. And as you've answered me in terms of, I was wondering if we do have that kind of law here. Because my worry is that if there is no law, then it becomes very difficult to enforce something like that, which means that it's a delay for the creatives. Until there is a law, until this thing is legitimized or legalized, it will be difficult for them to use their IP to get loans, to do all sorts of things. But thank you for that clarification. Marabanting.
Thank you very much. I think my colleagues explain or lay out, the nature of intellectual property very elaborately. I see intellectual property, I will call it in a very simple term, creation of the human mind. And creation of the human mind, expression of an idea, if I can call it that. But that creation or that idea and the expression thereof, interestingly, because as I learned in my experience in dealing with content, is that an idea on and of itself may be difficult to protect. I don't know if I'm correct. My colleagues will correct me. So that's why I choose to call it the expression of an idea. But that creation and that expression of an idea can be protected to benefit the creator or the owner, if we can call it that. And I think it's correct to say, it's probably not an exaggeration to say, the currency of IP is rights. You know, that is the currency of IP, of intellectual property, is rights. Intellectual property rights will include from copyright to, as my colleagues have named them. And I will say these rights are assets, they are intellectual property, they are properties. And interestingly, that we don't have the legal framework that is solid on that. But I think it is time, as we are seeing in other countries, that these properties, these intellectual properties, it can be used as assets as any other tangible properties. But I think we may be also in, all is not lost in that if we're still to get to finalize and fine-tune these intellectual property, that intellectual property law, something to bear in mind is, you know, the interaction of IP and other social structres may lead to unexpected, it may play out in unexpected ways. I'll tell you why I say that. When we're having these conversations, I don't know if it is necessary, I think it is necessary, to make the gender considerations. I'll tell you why I say that. There are countless factors that have led to issues being gendered, or the outcomes that we're seeing today being gendered the way they are gendered. I don't know if the statistics are aggregated enough to be able to tell us when it comes to the music industry or the creative sector, how this data is aggregated. For instance, we're talking issues of ownership, of creation, of creative works being owned and being rewarded. And when you're looking at issues of gender, is our data saying that you're having more females as producers, or vocalists, or performers, or which part of the value chain? And by so doing, these rights or these laws that may seemingly be gender neutral may actually be disadvantaging another gender invariably. You know, and this is something that I think we're in a position to be considering now that we haven't fine-tuned it. We are finding, back again to the issue of the song, as a creative property, as you rightly said, you may create it and then give it to somebody else to perform, but then in terms of rights, who gets the better benefit? And in terms of our data, where are we finding our gender differences? So then, therefore, these neutral laws might be leaving one gender in the disadvantage because the social issues that have happened have gendered the outcome like that. I don't know how many female producers, how many female record label owners, how many female, I'm going to choose female, how many female at that level of ownership? Or do we see more females coming in at the position of vocalists and lyricists and whatever, as performers? So I think we are also in a good position where we are as a country to be able to factor this in before we could get it wrong. And that's what I want to just point out as a point worth noting.
Well, thank you very much for bringing out the gender element in it. And we'll definitely get back to that. And maybe some of our panelists would want to also add something onto that. I will give an experience of what is happening from where they come from in terms of gender, because I strongly believe in the mainstreaming of gender into all these things. You know, it has proven that it works. If you have a gendered approach to some of these issues, you are most likely to achieve that economic empowerment that we all want for everyone. So, you know, I want now to come back to Ramaseko and, you know, I think this country and our neighbor South Africa, we are a little bit different in terms of, I mean, we're at different stages of this thing. And I want to know the experience in South Africa or elsewhere of this intellectual property rights and how the artists there have been able to use the IP as collateral. Is this something that is widely practiced in South Africa? And how long did it take for the country to arrive where it is? When was the law developed? And, you know, just basically, we want to understand that because I think For us also here, we really need to now focus on the next step. The next step is lobbying for that law and also just getting the artists to understand the assets that they have, because that is an asset. It's an asset, and they need to start looking at it as an asset. Like you talked about the knowledge economy. It's the buzzword. Everybody stands up and talks about the knowledge economy. So I think this is good entry point for the artists. With this, with their rights, they can fully participate in the knowledge economy. They have this knowledge, they have the ideas that they are producing, and it's about time they benefited from that. So, Ramaseko, your response.
Thank you very much. I think South African experience, and in the main, in the SADC, most of the SADC countries, the issue of intellectual property is still a new baby to many in terms of investing in it, to monetize in it. I think our conferences that we've attended and created are beginning to help our people. Because you see, the music industry has always been divided into two. You've got your glamour, your fame, your celebrity lifestyle. And that is where now our people are pushed into thinking that when you get into the industry, you are coming in, you are played on radio, you are seen on TV, then you will be known, you are loved, then you become untouchable. And when your days of being a celebrity are near to the end and you are no longer being booked, you are no longer being recognized by your fan base, people get depressed. And we are seeing that a lot in South Africa. But you ask yourself a question, why this person that was so famous, so big, why do they expire? When they have invested so much in the works that are actually lifetime, as our brother has explained, 50 years after death, if your family know that you've got 10 songs, only 10 songs, they will live with that. Now, it shows us that many people get into the music industry for the fame, for the glamour, and for the celebrity status. When all that is done and dusted, the artists feel rejected, they feel irrelevant, and we have seen them in many instances in our localities, whereby, now look at him. And that eats into the persona of an artist, because this is a person that was no longer using a taxi to go to town. This is no longer a person, the person who was staying in the suburbs. So that has a social decay in an artist alone. Because our people never produce music to leverage on the IP as it is explained. You see, for me, I really respect any artist who come into the game and say, I will produce and give birth to all these kids because I understand these different rights. I will make money through these different rights. I don't have to sing the songs sometimes. I can take my songs that I've composed and wholesale them to other artists so that I then enjoy the benefit of being attached to a publishing house that will monitor where my songs are. In the time of Corona in South Africa, and I think across the SADC and Africa in particular, we're beginning to see artists being at home, getting frustrated and saying, "Arena tiro." And there's no way that if your business is the creation of the mind, why will you not have a tiro? Because you can start producing mood music, library music, and jingles for that matter. Because you have a God-given talent to make money. So musicians, as Advocate Steve Kekana puts it very well, we are the most blessed individuals on earth. Because when all other careers cease to operate in heaven, our job starts in heaven. Because the angel sings. For as long as I remember heaven, angels are singing. Someone is composing. Someone is writing the lyrics. So therefore, this says to artists, do not compose music for live stage performance only. Compose music that you know you can have that one song that is your hit song that will fulfill your glamour, your awards, your everything. But the rest of the song, make sure that they are usable. The copyright law, as I conclude, in South Africa, I think it's copyright law of 1973 in South Africa. The law has been there for a longest time, but we know that our people do not understand that the trade of music is premised on the prescripts of the law. And that is why you are saying, and that is across the border, and Botswana as well, we know. The battle in the music industry across the SADC region is that our people don't understand their rights that are premised in the copyright law. And therefore, they get into the music industry for other reasons. Now, the business people behind are taking advantage of that. They are being exploited because the people that are actually wholesaling the music industry will never get poor. But the actual people that practice the songs or sing are the ones that are getting poor. So we are thinking, let's encourage our people to get into the music industry with a full understanding of the law that governs the industry. Yeah. Then glamour, fame, and other stuff will come afterwards.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Do you have somebody in the audience with a burning question? I want this to now be interactive so that as our panelists go on, you are able to on the spot ask a question and get answer or clarification from the panel here. Please do take advantage of this. What they're saying is really, really very important, and I think you may be sitting in the audience and having questions. You need clarifications. So, Karabo, I think currently we don't have anyone asking a question. So I'll move to you, my brother, and want to know from your perspective, what is it that artist managers, the business people behind the artists, what is their responsibility here? What is their responsibility? How do they assist the artists to benefit from their intellectual property? What is to be done?
I wanted actually to start from, the gender base before I
No problem. Please do chip in there.
Yeah, and the reason for that, and I think it's very important. One of the clients I represent is Maxi Kwaisa, right? And, I know she's one of the strongest women I have ever come across, like really, really. Like things that she has to go through, to be able to go work with Chigo, now working with, all those Pretoria boys, and things that they have to go through to be able to achieve that goal. The only reason she's also a smart business person, she understands that she needed a publisher that will be able to assist her to go through that. She already had composed a lot of songs here in the Botswana traditional way. The songs that you all now seeing famous with the, the Jerusalem guy, now making all the fame. Those are the songs that you all knew as Botswana people, that long produced, composed here. Now, the question is that if, normally in most cases, when you get to the studio and you sing a song, and a gentleman is sitting down there and he's playing piano, do you know whose song is that? What makes the producer to share a song 50-50 with you? Do you understand why? It shouldn't be the case. You come into the studio, you sing in the song. It means that you're giving the producer a melody. So that person is playing what is already existing. So what makes you, when you go to organization register, you find the producer having 50% of the composition, you own 50% of it, like you wrote the lyrics only. You know what I mean? The issue here is us not wanting to understand. And when I keep on saying about metadata, the importance of discussion before doing the work and be able to discuss after the work, don't discuss when the work is famous, it becomes more difficult and complicated. Then you start wanted to have lawyers and fight, and who wins is the lawyers. So no one wins. So the gender-based issue, it's a huge thing. It's been going on. You can look at your joy celebration. You can look at all those things have been there. It's just that we come in there because normally women feels like it's a favor to come and sing. But you're an amazing singer. You're an amazing composer. You don't think you're entitled to the rights. You know what I mean? You are entitled to the rights. The other issue I was discussing, I was saying, if you look at TV, if you're talking about the wild animals, a lot of programs that you see on TV, on DSTV, it's all shot in Botswana. Now, the question that I want you to actually ask yourself, will you shoot something in Botswana and use the music composed in America? Doesn't make sense, right? You know, because the rhythm and everything else is an African rhythm. Do you think they will be able to compose that rhythm in America? No. Chances are that you already have the songs here. All they have to do, because you put the songs online, you don't put metadata, right? All they have to do is just to listen to that and replay the rhythm and put it on the motion picture, and you can't claim it because you don't know what is yours, right? So nobody can link that to you because you have no ownership. How many songs that you know of Botswana tradition music that you know, that you have known, that actually you know as a Botswana person that this song belongs to so-and-so? You probably don't know them. We're all singing them, they're beautiful. There was a moment in South Africa where Botswana music was the biggest thing. Was the biggest ever. You know what I mean? I have one producer, and I keep on saying, guys, please, do not want to produce music to get an artist that is famous to be famous, because we're doing it for the wrong reasons, right? You can still own a studio and produce music for TV, so that when these people shooting all these things, they can actually use your music for the motion picture. There is more money there, as the music, the money that you will make as an artist, because you still have to plug, you still have to pay for a video, and chances are they might not even play that video. So you are the one at the losing end. The issue here, you are a composer. You're sitting with the studio, you're sitting with the music, and most of you guys, when I'm visiting their studios, they have over 200 songs on studio. They have nothing to do with them. You know, the next thing, the data, the computer crashed, so you have lost them. I'm saying there is a better business. Right? The importance of this, register your work. Find this tradition, you know, take this music and find the ownership of that music, register them, put them online. Because anything else that you put online with the metadata is already protected. So anybody that uses it, they know who to contact to be able to pay the revenue back to. So that's the importance of it. Metadata is important. Highly important. Stop focusing on the fame. The fame doesn't pay money. This is business. So me, as a music publisher, I'm saying to you when you're coming, when I'm talking to Mexi, I talk to Mexi all the time. You know, there's a lot of clients, Tabang, you know what I mean? So I talk to them daily. I'm saying, if you sign with me at Share Publishing, right? You are a business, I see you as a business person. So you need to be able in 6 months and say, Karab, I've signed with you this, I gave you these songs. What have you done from that to now? What can you advise me to do? What is there that I'm doing wrong? Why am I not making money? You know, from the beginning. It's a business. If I'm not giving that report, you know, every 6 months or maybe once a year, you know what I mean? What is the point of you having a business with me? Either I'm not interested or either something is not working between me and you. You know what I mean? But my idea is be able to for you to tap in me and asking me, what else can I do? What else can you do for me? You know what I mean? Because we are business to business. So if I can't make you a better person, if I can't make you a better person, what's the point of you having a business? Because that's a waste of time. So the sooner you realize that and the sooner you be able to do that to me, the sooner I know I'm under pressure to make sure that I deliver.
Thank you, Karabo. Thank you. Yeah, that round of applause. Oh, now you have questions. Emma, you introduce yourself and ask the question.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mpeliki July, a gospel artist. My question, I don't know if I should address it to all of you, though I arrived late. I want to understand something because I heard Karabo talking about a producer and 50%. Most of the time we end up giving one because we have no knowledge on that. That I want to understand, if you say as a composer or as an artist, you should understand that with the you pay. When you are with the producer, you should know that he takes 50 and then you take 50. My question is that I want to understand, what if you have paid that amount of the producer, that he will say, no, I'm charging you this amount for doing this work for you. Still, are we supposed to share those rights, or now the rights are transferred to me since I've paid for him? And then the other issue on gender issues, that as women, normally we find that we are failing because most of the time, when it comes to gentlemen, they don't support women. Rather, we end up being pushed away. How best as women, so that we are able to meet that power that men has on us, on the industry. What is it that we can do? Because most of the time when you talk with men and you try to show them that women, you can as well stand for yourself, they find ways of closing you out so that you don't come up. So how best can you help us as women so that we also outstand men? We are at the same level with men. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you have noted that, and then I'm going to expect you that in as we wrap up, you respond to that. But see, I wanted to ask you earlier on. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done here locally in terms of creating awareness. How are we going to do that? What is in place? What is the plan? How do we get artists on board and educate them about this, build their capacity so that they understand that they have these IPs and they can benefit from them?
I'm smiling because it's more than 200 times I'm being asked about awareness. But before I get to awareness, you can see that there's a gap here locally. There's a gap between there's a vacuum. You see, the artists, when they come, the musicians, the performers, or the composers, there need to be somebody here. Yesterday, as I was watching the live stream, Sabelo was saying they were communicating with DJ Fresh, DJ Tira, but not with DJ Tira and DJ Fresh. They were communicating with their managers. He only learned when he was talking to Mr. Menyani that DJ Fresh was already in the country. The work of a music manager is where the gap is. Our music managers need to, I don't want to say they need to get their act in order, but I want to say something closer to that. They need to inform themselves first about copyright, so that when they deal with the artist, they are able to advise artists accordingly. Without the managers doing this, as Kara was saying and Mr. Maseko was saying, most of our artists are youngsters who are looking for one thing and one thing only, fame. And for us, when we talk about copyright, we are talking serious business. We are talking long-term benefits. So that gap needs to be closed. But let's get back to how we can raise awareness. I don't know. Many things have been done. I think there are institutions that should be helping us, that need support as well. The challenge is in Botswana, we can count the number of people who have masters in IP. They are less than 60. And most of them are working for government. They have different jobs that are not necessarily in the IP space. That's where our challenge is. So those people who could be helping us in the industry are working for government. I know myself and the other gentleman who did IP in South Africa, I think by the name Moreni. We are only two in the IP space, in the private sector. So It's a challenge. But what we should understand is that enforcement of copyright law starts with one person. And that person is the right holder. The musician, the composer, the singer. You are the first person to enforce your rights. You don't expect policemen to be going around dealing with your work. Rather, you should tell the police that I'm encountering problems enforcing my rights because of 1, 2, 3. But then again, our laws are still not helping us to that level. Because the police, when they come, because they also have not been trained on IP, the first thing that they think about, or most of the things that they do, the first thing that they do most of the time is, okay, let's charge you with something else, not copyright. And it is not because they don't want to help us. It is because they have not been trained. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we need capacity building for everyone involved in this sector. And I usually say it has to start from the top. And when I say from the top, I mean from the president. He has talked about IP. Those who are below him needs to start talking, needs to start working the talk. They need to be empowered. We have SIPA. SIPA, I cannot say I cannot speak for them, but from my point of view is they are undercapacitated. SIPA only has offices in Gaborone, Francistown, and Mau. And our artists are all over the country. And those artists who really need this education are out there. In your Kalahadi, in your Gaudwane, in your Tsasebe, in your Mutabaning, all those rural areas. So really it means that we need to pull up our socks, every one of us, to include this. Because IP, as we said, is not an easy subject. It's a very difficult subject. And when we come now talk about lending to borrowing from finance institutions, it means we need to really understand, to know, for instance, even the banking institutions, they need to understand that when One comes and says, I will use my mechanical rights in somebody's film so that you can give me a loan. They should understand the term of period of that agreement between One and the filmmaker. The artists also need to know that period so that they don't entangle themselves in problems where they go to that bank using the very same rights that are already secured somewhere. So these are the issues that we need to deal with. And unfortunately, it's a difficult subject, but we need more training, and more training. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, sir.
Dumelang. My name is Uspepelo Mbele. I am from South Africa, Durban. I have two questions. One is aimed at Pramandla. Is there a future for royalty collection through CMOs? So as we look forward with this digital era, can we really say that do we need CMOs to administer these, to look after our collection of royalties from the copyright, right? Should we be looking at other ways of getting music users to pay directly to music creators, right? That's the first question. The second one, I would like Ukarabo to talk to this. Can you take us through steps of how you would evaluate a catalog? The gentleman is talking about taking a loan based on the work that you've done. But we do not understand how do you actually evaluate your work and say that your work is worth this much? What is it based on, right? So that you are able to say, you know what, this is the reasonable loan I should be taking up on that. And is there such a law in South Africa that talks to that? Or you should be acting as a financial service provider? Because we know that there's copyright law, but we also know that there's FSP law that protects even the consumer as well. The guy who comes in and tries to get a loan from a financial service provider, saying that if that person cannot meet the demands of that loan, you're not allowed to give them, right? So is it necessary to create more laws? Are there such laws in South Africa that say that in the music industry, when you're bringing in your values, your catalog, this is how it is governed, differently from when you're bringing your property, which is maybe your house, and saying, let this supplement my income so I can buy another house? Thank you.
Thank you very much. One, I want to go to you, and the panelists, I think, you will respond to the questions as you give your concluding remarks, because we are running short of time. And I want you, One, to weigh in on the debate and then also give some of your concluding remarks. And then we follow back that way, everyone answering the questions that have been posed and then giving the concluding remarks.
Okay. I think the question that was on the floor was a question of awareness. And I want to come in and say, I think at this point, the awareness needs to be given to our financiers and investors, empowerment agencies like CEDA. I think financiers are at a position of little or no understanding of the creative sector generally, how this sector is even a business, because for the longest time this is entertainment, and how the sector is even a business. But the new CEDA guidelines are putting the creative sector among the critical sectors, up there along with manufacturing, I think, and agriculture and mining. And I agree, and I think our colleagues will agree that yes, the creative sector is that critical. Because we're speaking today of music. Music has an intrinsic value with humans. Today, probably, especially more than ever, because music can contribute to mental wellness, can contribute to national unity. It actually contributes to the expression of other industry. Other industry are able to express themselves through the creative sector. I mean, we were talking, Remanda we were talking of jingles and stuff like that. These are creations of creatives, including musicians, and there I'm sitting and thinking, today more than ever, especially with the digital revolution, never before have we seen so much works being accessed by so many people globally. And I think, for the basic considerations of financiers, there lies a market, because financiers would be looking, is there a market? Is it viable? What is the risk? And things like that. Today, more than ever, there is such a viable market. And the intrinsic value of creative works, and especially music, to human beings, I think speaks to the viability and of these businesses. It never dies. It will never die. The value that human beings attach to creative works, and therein lies viability of such businesses. Because I think we also, as creators, must appreciate the qualms that the financiers would have, because loans are risk, and they would want to manage risk. But I think awareness today needs to be going towards the financiers. I mean, I've had to sit and answer a question that our works is not like selling tomatoes. And I'm like, it's actually exactly like selling tomatoes. Because somebody produces the tomato, somebody produces music. A market or a shop sells the tomatoes, the radio station, the television station, moves this product. And we look at market viability, not in terms of every customer that's going to buy a tomato, promising you that they're going to buy a tomato, but from trends. and things like that. And these are demonstratable with music and all other creative works. So it's exactly like selling the tomato, and we should really start appreciating it like that and be able to start seeing these works as businesses that are viable, that are worth the risk, today.
Thank you, Honor. Yeah, and a round of applause for her. Yeah, and yeah, Amanda, your concluding remarks and also answering some of the questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yes, indeed, thanks to yourself and my fellow panelists. Let me address two questions. The first question is the question about how do women get empowered in a male-dominated business like the music industry to ensure that they themselves are liberated and they are in business. I think for me, if you look at it from a South African perspective, South African laws have managed to help us dismantle patriarchy as far back as 1994. We've seen a growth of institutions, both legal institutions that are protecting women. We've seen laws that are protecting women. So therefore, we're thinking that women must take advantage of the laws that exist to ensure that when they get into the studios, they are in the music industries, they are not abused and they report abuse. The second one is the issue around women supporting other women. We find that women sometimes don't support each other in the same business that they are in. So we are encouraging women to try their best because they play a significant role and take positions, participate in structures that matter so that you get elected and run and participate in those spaces. We've got seasoned women in the music industry, and you can learn from Mama Yvonne Chaka Chaka. The list goes on and on. Hold on to those women, call workshops for yourself and talk to yourselves. And that is the best way, because no man in today's age can use patriarchy to oppress women. There are laws that are protecting you. Do not wholesale yourself for fame. Women, stop wholesaling yourself for fame. Don't talk to us and always want to do favors with us. Come to me from a business perspective. If there's no business, walk away. Once a number of women can do that, men will stop doing what they're doing. At the moment, it's just freebie for us. That's the first one. The second one, and I will be very quick. The question you're asking, Mbele, is very complex in two ways. Firstly, that South Africa is fortunate to have this large number of collecting societies which are administering the rights. But the rest of the SADC region, we know that we are battling. We've been traveling in the SADC. Not many countries in the SADC understand and have established very solid rights collecting management entities, so that when an artist produces music, they know that their music will have a far reach in the 16 countries and benefit because the collecting societies will be talking to each other. The second thing is that collecting societies, they play a very significant role for now, purely because we are still debating how you can benefit on your copyright and intellectual property. Imagine if you want to now engage the user as a performer to say, pay me for this, pay me for this. I think the logistics around the payment of royalties to an artist is a nightmare. Therefore, these institutions in Africa in particular allow them to exist for some time until our people get into the music industry and monetize on their IP. From there, in a digital era, fourth industrial revolution, we will see how they evolve. But let's give the collecting society time, and let's educate our people to really do business in the music industry with no emotions, with nothing else, so that we stop this sugarcane plantation. The sugarcane plantation is very simple. I'm concluding. You squeeze the sugar and destroy the canes. That is what is happening. So people who are in copyright will tell you, the people behind, you ask a very important question, what do we do for them? We're exploiting them. Because majority of the people who get into the music industry, if they are educated, they get employed in various industries that are not relevant to the music industry. If they are talented, they don't have the education to be able to read for comprehension. For as long as you don't have education, we will abuse, we will exploit, and we will rob you your money. So empower yourself, know your rights, get into the business for the trade of it, not for the fame of it.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for Amanda Maseko. Yes, Karabo.
Yeah, I think Mandla has covered most of the thing. And you know, I like how he covered the gender-based issue strongly. But I think one part that I think, you know, you asked that is not actually being answered was the issue of you going to the studio and paying the producer, and you think the producer is entitled for composition, right? Intellectual property is something total. What you're paying to own the master recording, right? That he will never be entitled to. You're paying that when he gives you that song, it's the master recording, the sound recording, it belongs to you, 100%. But in terms of who composed what, who did what, it's discussion between you. You know what he put through, you know what you have composed. Then you can discuss that. There's no formula. It's you guys sitting together and saying, out of 100%, what are we agreeing on? Then you make a split sheet where you send the title, the music melody, the lyrics, out of 100, who's getting what? Then you both sign, you put a date. Everybody goes home with a copy. That way nobody changes when you go into society and register the song. Is it that clear? All right. In regards to SPAY, your question, my brother, was, yeah. Anyway, let's get to the advance issue, right? The formula that I personally, because I still do pay a lot of advances to the catalog. Now, if I'm coming to you, like now I'm discussing with Citizen to do a deal with them, what I look at their 3 months royalty payment they have received, right? They're coming to me and saying, I'm looking for 500,000 rand. The reason for an advance in most cases is so that they can take the money and do what they do best in terms of finding new musicians, creating more new works, promoting, so that they can keep the catalog flowing and happening. So that's the only reason I'm supporting them. Not for you to give an advance to go home and buy a new car, a new house. You need to be able to inject the money on what you do best so that you can create more, bigger catalog. So that's basically what I'm using. So then when I'm looking at your financials and you're looking for 500,000 rand, but you made in 3 years, you've made 300,000 rand, I can show you, you won't be able to cover that money. You know what I mean? So legally, I don't think there's anything that's actually give us the right to do that, because we're not in the financial institution where we're supposed to be borrowing people money. But we're doing it so that it can enhance what you do, you know what I mean, so that we can keep on having a good catalog, so keep on getting the money back. Unfortunately, in a lot of clients that they come for advances, either we got an advert that we just did, and he knows that we got about 600,000 rand coming in for that particular song of his, but we pay in 6 months later. So the composer will say, I can't wait for 6 months. I know I'm already you're expecting this money. Can you give me now? It becomes an advance because I'm paying it before, the time that comes. So that's basically what we use to be able to do that. For someone to renew a contract, they might want an advance. Especially now during the COVID, the issues have been, a lot of people haven't been making money. They haven't been producing, they haven't been doing anything else. So we're basically saying, I'm not going to be able to see you suffering when I know in the last 4 years I've been making money with you. So I can give you the money, hoping, you know what I mean, I'll be able to get, the money in the future. If you look at the issues of your Mendoza, we survived even Kalakata. One song, to date, because of adverts. If you look at Meremakiaba Pata Pata, we survived with that one song because it get a lot of adverts. You know what I mean? So again, just in closing, the reason why I keep on saying metadata is important, right? Is because if Pata Pata wasn't properly registered, Ngalakat wasn't properly registered, none of them have been seen the value or the advertisement will be using that, because they will never use something that doesn't have information so that they know who to pay, because they will be illegally using it and it can be sued.
All right.
So now it's important to make sure that your metadata is correctly identified to be yours, so you can benefit for the rest of your life. If I'm still paying Robbie Malinga, who passed on, I don't know, many years ago, I'm still paying Mendoza, who's passed away. I'm still paying, Mary Magebas, the Pata Pata song, who passed away. But I can still identify them and still feed the family the money. And they're making more money more than most of the people who are making more hits today. So that shows that what the importance of the metadata. And when you find a music publisher, find a right person. When you find a producer, find the right. So when I'm saying the right person, I'm saying a person who have credibility. You can look at the history, investigate someone before you want to do business with. You know what I mean? Don't just go for money because someone else referred to someone else. Find someone else who you can basically, who's clean, you can do the job, you can be able to get the statement, you can be able to receive what is due to you on time. So that's basically what I can advise. Thank you.
Thank you, Karabo. A round of applause for him. Rele Solobe in closing, and then, I think we now.
Yeah. It's good to be part of people like this. It's good because you also learn. So I want to go to my lady's question. No, let me start with my brothers there. The question on CMO, the future of CMO. It's a burning question. And a lot of people believe, and I'm not among those people, a lot of people believe that CMOs are dying. They are wrong. They are wrong. And I'm saying this, I know very well that in Finland and Norway, there's a law that now says artists can directly license instead of going to CMOs. But I can tell you that even then, even when that law is there, it's being implemented, the CMOs are working and they will continue to work. The licensing of copyright is very complex. It's very, very complex. And it keeps on getting more complex. We are now in a digital age. You would think that it is simple to negotiate, but it is not simple. It is very, very difficult. Imagine now if your song is a hit. It's a hit. Let's take Tinto, for instance. In 2008, was it 2008? Yes. When it was hitting the markets. Do you believe that Tinto, my team, would have negotiated with all the radio stations in South Africa, all the radio stations in Botswana, all the buses in Zimbabwe, even here in Botswana? The buses at some point will have to pay because they are using your music. The restaurants are already paying. Your cash bazaars, they are paying. You think Matieng alone, on their own, they would have gone to all these outlets to go and negotiate? I leave it to you to answer it. But remember what I'm saying. The CMOs are here to stay, even in the digital era. In China already, the CMOs are online, are going online. So, whatever problem you might have with your CMO, get into the CMO, go through the right channels, and rectify that. That's my advice. Can I ask?
Yes, briefly.
Just a question again, because
Yes.
I forgot. Not on the women's side. I thought that was another issue.
My question was, though Mr. Zulu,
Yes, I think it was.
Karabo, they tried to answer it, was he tried to clarify it more, that I was saying, imagine in a situation where you get to a producer and you pay for the services. I wanted to know that if you have paid for the services, do we still share the same rights,
Thank
or
you.
then after that it's mine?
That's fine. And he answered you. But this is where I want to end. Our challenge, because, as they said, we are doing it for the wrong reason. What I want when I go to a producer is to hear my music on the streets without having done work. The first thing that when you go to, I'm trying to remember music producers in Botswana. I don't know. Okay. You can go to Garab, right? The first thing that you go is to look at the contract. That is the very first thing that you have to do. There is no way you are going to sign your contract in 5 days. It's not possible. You need to take that contract to a lawyer. There are lawyers who are doing IP in Botswana. You can go to those lawyers, they look at it, and they ask you what you want from that agreement. That's the first thing that you need to do. So that when you get to that issue, you, as he said, you are paying for those services. But there's another work that you have to pay that person for creating the music with you. That piano, the production itself. That's where you need to negotiate. That one, I think he answered you. I can't go there. So the last thing is, I want to give you 3 examples.
No, give her one, please.
One example.
I'm short of time.
Sorry.
I'm short of
We
time.
need to focus as musicians. Focus. Know what you want in life. The one example I'm going to give you is from outside this country. Celine Dion. We all love Celine Dion. She made money with Titanic. But Celine Dion, 95% of her music, the songs that she performs are not hers. They are composed by somebody else. She has the voice, and she's focusing on her strength. That's what we need to do. Focus, musician. Focus. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Bye. So, I know this is a round of applause. This has been the most engaging of the discussions, and I'm sure we've learned a lot. And at the same time, I feel there is just many things that could be discussed out of this thing, and I think we've not done justice to it by giving it an hour, although I added about 25 minutes over that, which is going to put me in trouble. But anyway, thank you very much. I think we can always continue the discussions elsewhere. It's very important that we do so. We don't only wait for this event to happen and then we start the engagements again. The engagement should be continuous, and those responsible in this country, the musicians, society, and all other stakeholders, these are the conversations that you need to be having. During this COVID time, there's been an introduction of online platforms where people are discussing so many things, and we are yet to see Bomu engaging the artists in some kind of platform like that. But I hope you are working on something like that. These are the topics. These are the experts. They have engaged on this matter beautifully. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. You may take your seats there. So I'm just going to, as we get our organizers to clean up here, I'm going to give you 2 minutes before we start with the new panel, so you can stretch just inside the room. Thank you.